see more.
What's up, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Pit Therapy Podcast with me, Trevor, and Kyle. And welcome back, Professor Nemchek, Joshy. We've missed you. How have you been, man?
Good. Busy, tired, living,
Dude,
kind of all the bunch.
you've done it all. So we caught you last time. When was that? December, when you played the show with Closed Grip, I think is the last time you hopped on with us.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right? So
Yeah, that
it's been
sounds
a
about
minute.
right.
Yeah. Since then, you've played a couple of shows with Crow Killer. You just got done with the lifting meet. How was that? What was that? 2 weeks ago? Last week?
No, I compete this coming Saturday.
Oh, my bad. So
I'm
when this
hoping,
comes out, you'll have just competed. So how'd you do?
I'm hoping I do well. The training's going well, and feel better than ever. I've been kind of sick the last couple of days, which we always have this theory of like meat flu, which is usually like the week of the meet. So I guess I'm right on track. So
See,
we're going up
I
to
get
Lava
meat
Hot
flu.
for a few days.
I get meat flu when I eat too much meat. That makes me
I get
feel
the
a lot.
meat. I get the meat sweats.
Meat sweats. Yeah.
Yeah,
Also known as.
yeah. Throws my salt intake off. Let it out.
Well, you said you're going up to lava.
Yeah. So the meet's up in Idaho, so we're going up to Lava for a couple days. Got an Airbnb, so I'm just gonna travel back and forth. So
Oh, sick. Where's the meet actually at?
it's in Pocatello, Idaho. It's in a gym called Iron Dynasty. Just a group of guys up there, and yeah, should be a good time.
Well, dope. Sick. So, Crow Killer shows. I caught you on the Days tour that rolled through, what, February, March, or something like that. And then, is that when it was?
Probably closer to April.
You're probably right. I don't know. It all blends together now. That show was absolutely sick, but I didn't get to catch the Bleeding Through show. How was that?
It was really good. So it was at Church and State, which kind of an interesting venue. It's like an old church, really tall ceilings, concrete floors, so everything was really echoey. But we played, Pushing Up Daisies played, Forever War played, and then Bleeding Through played. And they played a really long set, probably for an hour at least.
Oh,
So it was
wow.
really, a floor show. Bleeding Through hasn't played here since probably 2012 maybe, and that was on the Born of Osiris and Sleeping Giant tour. So it was really cool to see him again.
That's insane. It's insane that they're still like going strong. Like I just listened to them on the Garza pod a couple weeks ago, and like they're in the process of putting out a new album and all that stuff. Like they're killing it right now for what it is. I mean, they don't tour as much as they used to, obviously, but it's incredible.
Yeah, they've got a lot of old roots from back here from like the mid '90s. They were friends with bands like Clear and Lifeless and those bands. They had a bass player that played in Clear, and he also played in 18 Visions and Bleeding Through. So they kind of cool. So when they came back, it was just kind of like a reunion of like old friends. You saw a lot of old heads there that they haven't seen each other in years. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that was Mick Morris, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool
dude,
name.
that's dope. I was in Boston, but I wish I could have caught that one. That would have been
Yeah.
sick. So
No.
are you guys gonna keep playing?
We've got some ideas. I'm just spread thin in the summer, so we can't really find like a set day to practice. So we practice
Yeah.
in West Valley, and I just between gym schedules and work and kids and all that, I'm just kind of on a variable. Like, just set up a show and we'll make it work. We wrote one new song. We've had a couple other ideas in the works, but nothing set in stone necessarily.
So are you guys still with New Age technically? Or if you guys do put anything out, will you guys be able to just self produce it, or what's going on at this point?
Uh, So the last record we released is obviously on New Age.
Yep.
Haven't really done anything with them for a while with Mike Hartsfield. I don't really know what the future would be. Blake, our singer, just started his own label where he started and released did a split release with Lumpy off of Days, that It Dies Today EP.
Yeah.
That's been in the works for a while, and he's been kind of telling us like it's been kind of like his thing he's wanted to do for a while. So that's how he's starting it up. I don't know if what other bands he's got in the works, but that might be just something we just follow en route to.
Sick. Well, dope.
Dude,
What
come
about
play
you,
down
Kyle?
here.
What
Come play down here, Josh.
in Texas in
Mhm.
July?
Tejas.
You could come in July.
Tejas and Hulai.
Hulai, nice, dude.
I don't think it's even the heat that scares me down there. It's the amount of bugs and snakes.
Dude, I caught like this big rat in a sticky trap in the garage, and
Oh,
freaking my daughter like walked out in the garage and saw it, and I thought she got stabbed, dude. She was like hysterical, and I'm like, it's just a rat. It's in the trap. It's not even close to you. Chill out. But yeah,
Dude, we last year when we had the mice in our garage, all of a sudden same thing. I hear like screaming from the garage, right? And I go walking out. Mine was a little bit more graphic. The mouse had gotten into the poison and it was literally like twitching on the ground, like going in circles. And my kids are just like screaming. And I'm just like,
yeah.
go grab a bag, pick it up, throw it away.
Like this one, he was like making a bunch of noises, and I feel bad. Like I don't like the sticky traps just because I think in some regards they're like inhumane. You know, I don't want the animal to sit there and suffer, so I bashed it with a shovel. Like I know that sounds super bad, but like, I don't want it to suffer. You know, I'm not gonna like just let it like suffer. I put it out of its misery. Like I feel like that's the respectable way to do it, right?
I feel like I've tried mouse traps and stuff, and like I get maybe like 1 out of 5. But if I use a glue trap, it's 10 out of 10 every time I get them.
Yeah. Yeah, I've caught like a couple toads in it that I've freed. Like I just get a bunch of olive oil in a spoon, and like I'll get them out. And we caught like this little snake in there, and I got the snake out. But like we've caught a couple mice and a rat, and I just put those ones out of their misery, dude.
Have you ever had a glue trap go missing?
No,
that's creepy.
that would suck.
That's because like the mouse or the rat gets like partially on it, but can still like run with its front or back legs.
Just drags it away.
No, seriously, I've gotten up in the morning and the trap's gone. I'm like, all right. So I start pulling couches out, and sure enough, it's like underneath the couch somewhere.
Jeez,
Just like trying to run. And I'm like, nope, you gone, bud.
Gosh.
I haven't had that, but anytime my kids bounce a ball in the garage, without fail, it ends up in the sticky trap. Without fail.
Yep.
So,
well,
but speaking of kids, I had kind of a funny moment today. Eli's been talking to me about drums and stuff because he wants to learn to play the drums. And we were like just listening to music and stuff. And I was showing him like thrash metal. And I was like, dude, check out this like old thrash metal I used to listen to. This is a band called 3 Inches of Blood. And he's like, all right. So I put on like Deadly Sinners, and he freaking loved it, dude. He was laughing so hard. He's like, this is the greatest thing I've ever heard. He's like, how do these guys not laugh when he's singing like that? And I was like, I don't know, dude. They're great. So
Destroy the Orcs, man.
Yeah.
Absolute fantastic song.
But like proud dad moment, dude, that my kid gets down to 3 inches of blood. Like, heck yeah, man. I know I'm doing it right when that happens.
So when's he getting a kit?
I don't know. I got to figure that out.
When you
Maybe
get-
Christmas or birthday or something. So
You need to buy you and your wife some professional earplugs. You have to
Yeah,
listen to that
probably.
for like the first 2 years.
You could always go with the electronic one. That's not too bad.
those are like pricey though, man. I don't know. I don't want to buy anything until he's like done it and knows that he wants to keep doing it. So I got to find a way to like get him to try it.
Buying an electronic drum kit is like your mom trying to convince you that like the Fila shoes she bought you at Walmart are the same thing as Zoomies.
These are
It's not,
Shaq
mom.
brand, man. They're good. Yeah,
Dude,
that's
don't
funny.
be hating on Filas.
I will hate on Filas till the day I die.
Don't those shoes have like they have like felt bottoms that wear out, right? And then it, like the sole, and then you like slip it. Yeah, dude, those shoes suck, man.
Listen, between Filas and Gap hoodies, that was like my fourth grade get up. I was always in that stuff. So, man. Well, what about music? What have you guys been listening to? What shows are coming up? What's going on in the world of music these days for you? Josh, we haven't talked to you in a long time. What have you been listening to for the last few months?
Well, I guess I'll start by saying I switched to Spotify.
Let's go. So much
Sucks.
better.
It's not.
So I switched to Spotify because Apple Music kept charging me like $200 a month for random stuff they couldn't figure out. So I just canceled my whole account. So that's why I went to Spotify.
The heck?
Yeah,
Sounds like you were
random.
buying a bunch of stuff you shouldn't have been buying, buddy.
No,
Apple
seriously.
Music.
They
Is he
charged
now
they
starting
charged me
to
like
take OS?
they charged me like $42 for something, and I'm like, so what was that for? It looks like it was for storage. I'm like, no, that doesn't make sense. But I don't know. I've been kind of on a random. I've been on a random kick. I was listening to Deep Blue Supping the other day. Breakfast at Tiffany's. Remember that '90s hit?
Yeah, dude.
Absolutely.
I've been listening to this one chick named Gracie Abrams.
Gracie
Yeah.
Abrams.
Joss is like a huge fan of hers.
Yeah. I've been listening to some Haywire. I went on a Paramore kick the other day.
Dude, so we're
Nice.
painting my oldest daughter's room right now. And I
Uh,
turned on Set Your Goals, right? Because my wife likes Summer Jams. That's the song she likes. So I just started it from the beginning. And she's like, I cannot believe how much I hate this. You've got to turn this off. She's like, I can't stand them talking and all the stupid stuff. And we made it all the way to the song with Haley Williams. So I'm like, okay, I'll turn on Paramore. I turn on Paramore. She's like, is this just Paramore? I'm like, yeah. She's like, this is horrible. So I'm like, what are we listening to then? So I don't even remember. We ended up with 4 Years Strong, I think. So
here's a question for you, Josh. Are you Riot or are you All We Know Is Falling?
ooh, that's a hard one.
It is a hard one.
Is it? No, it's All We Know.
I don't
Okay,
know.
we would say that, but I don't think the general population would say that.
100%. But also the general population is probably Brand New Eyes.
Maybe.
I
Yeah.
don't know. I think Riot was like revolutionary, you know? I feel like every record you wanted to come out past that point was like, we need another Riot record. And it just wasn't. But, you know, with their lineup changes and stuff, but man, it's funny, listening to like a lot of their, you know, music throughout the years. It's funny how many songs are really good off of any record, really. Even their newest one, super different. I like wanted to hate it so bad, and I just didn't.
Listen, she's too talented. Like Haley Williams is phenomenal. No matter what she does, there's going to be something good. I don't listen to a lot of pop these days, but like she's too talented not for it to be good.
Yeah, no, I think she's really good. I really like a good like pop singer or pop punk band with a girl singer. Like it doesn't come around very much, but like when it does, it just hits different, I think.
Yeah.
There was like that wave. As soon as Paramore came out, there was like a wave of them though. There was like Versa Emerge. They were super solid. Hey Monday, they actually were pretty okay. She went on and did her own thing. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones. We ended up catching a few of them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like,
nothing really new that I can think of anyway.
The new End It released a new song, I think today.
Oh yeah.
It's pretty good. If you like them, they're good.
I do like End It.
Yeah.
I think it was their EP was really good. Like the first like 5-song deal they put
Hmm.
out. I think.
So when did they come out? Like 4 years ago, 5 years ago?
I remember listening to them at a powerlifting meet back in 2017, I believe.
That long? Because this is their first full length. You're right. Ended EP 2017. So this is their first full length,
Hmm.
like 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty interesting. Like this is kind of like the exact example of how at least hardcore is going today. It's all EPs. It's all EPs. It's all singles. Let's push out 3 to 5 songs every year kind of thing. And then maybe we'll get to a full length at some point.
Yeah, I think End It is like a super band. Like I think they
Yeah.
have from other bigger bands, if I remember right.
They're cool, man. Their shows look freaking wild too.
Where are they from?
Maryland.
Maryland.
Baltimore.
Yeah.
Yeah, Baltimore. So I know that Drain released a new song. It's cool. It's Drain. Like you could have put it
Yeah.
on either one of their albums and it sounds exactly the same. But
Did you get to catch any of their set from the Vans Warped Tour Drains?
no.
It's
Was it
pretty
cool?
cool. Yeah, a lot of the sets are pretty cool. I mean, nothing's ever gonna to me. Warped Tour's never gonna be like anything better than the Utah State Fair. Trying
Yeah.
to
Oh,
just survive
100%.
all day, but it looked like it was a pretty good turnout. Um, I wish they would have done something closer to the West Coast, but everything was back east or down there by Florida.
Yeah.
I'm
And
not going
tickets
that
were
far.
like $300 or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm not doing that. It's crazy.
I think the last like couple years I went to Warped Tour, I was trying to find a way to get in for free.
I almost had to, man. Shoes was so expensive. Like it was like $75 the last year I went, and that was back in like what?
15
Like
or 16, right?
yeah, 2015. It's like I mean, those are normal tickets now because the world sucks. But back
It's a
then, dude, like
freaking
10 years.
5-band bill at this point.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Did you
stupid.
you see that Cartel Chroma tour coming in the fall?
No,
I saw that. Yeah. Are you going to go to that? You have any
No,
interest?
who
no.
is it?
Cartel.
It's Cartel playing Chroma, or is it Chroma? Is that what it's called?
I think that's how you say it. Yeah. I don't know. I was never really into Cartel.
I
You were
wasn't.
one
Did
of
you
those.
see how expensive the VIP tickets are?
No.
Like 175 a piece.
Oh, dude, that's
It's wild.
brutal. That's insane.
My
So,
wife,
Um,
my wife really wanted to go to Sleep Token, and those
slept with
resales are over $300 a piece.
dude.
Told her nope.
That's
dude, I
insane.
don't get it.
The memes online making fun of Sleep Token is like the greatest thing ever. I couldn't tell you I've listened to like an actual song from Sleep Token, but all the memes coming out are top notch. They're incredible.
Dude, I remember when they first came out, I did listen to a little bit, and it was like as everything started to get kind of that atmospheric metal-y, doom metal-y sound and stuff. It was cool when they first got dropped. Not a fan
Trevor, Sleep
anymore.
Token fan. Trevor wears masks to bed like Sleep Token.
I paint
Yeah,
myself black before I go to sleep.
You're not allowed to do that anymore.
That's
Uh,
right.
uh, one
as
of the
a
other shows that's
dude,
coming in July is Judiciary is coming out here.
that'll be cool.
So I'm pumped for that. I haven't seen them, but those
Who are they
guys are
That
coming
is
rad.
with?
dope.
Who are they coming with?
Just locals, right? It's just
Yeah,
Texas locals.
it's a couple local bands.
I sent you the Creeping Death Enforced Scourge show.
Oh
That's
yeah.
going to you in August.
Yeah. And then Zabalba's coming out here and
Oh
Fugitives
yeah.
playing that. So
Yeah, dude, you've got 6 shows coming
I
up.
do have some good stuff coming up this summer.
Too bad
Did you ever
Kyle sucks and he's probably gonna go to one.
Yeah, probably not gonna go to any of them, to be honest with you.
did you ever get to see Zabalba when you were younger?
Yeah. I saw him one time. I
Man,
want to say it was with you, dude.
might have been. I don't.
It was a bloodbath.
I think. Yeah, I can't remember. I saw him so much when I was younger. I don't remember which one's which. But Man, they're
They
so
were
good.
supposed to come last year with Speed, and then I don't know why they didn't come out this way, but it worked out because Bitter End ended up jumping on that. So
Yeah, I know when they came and played in Salt Lake, they had pretty much all fill-in members besides like two.
mm,
Yeah, they had
Oh, really? At
a bunch.
that coffee house show?
Yeah, they haven't really. I don't think they've really played with their actual lineup in years, unless it's in California.
Interesting. It's interesting. It's cool that bands are able to do that these days. Like, I feel like when we were younger, you kind of almost knew everyone who was in the band, and it was pretty, it was pretty uncommon. Maybe one member was a fill-in, but oftentimes it was just whoever the full band was. And so, it's cool today that these bands are still able to go and do it, and we can still go and have fun and listen to this heavy ass music. So,
yeah.
anyways,
Makes me tired
speaking of
though.
heavy ass music, we're talking the Acacia Strain today. So, this is a band, the last two bands. What did we talk about last, Kyle? We talked about Funeral for a Friend.
Mm,
We talked about Finch. So, we've
mm-hmm.
talked about some post hardcore, right? And I was like, let's just go heavy. Let's just go balls to the wall, find heavy bands who have been around and that have impacted the scene in a way. And I landed on the Acacia Strain. So, this is a band that honestly, I don't really listen often to their discography, but their shows are incredible. So, where did you guys start with them? Josh, I think it was either you or someone you were hanging out with showed me Continent, I think was the first time I heard them. So,
Very
where did
possible.
you get into the Acacia Strain?
So, man, my memory's hazy. I feel like the first time that I listened to the Acacia Strain, uh, I was living downtown in 2010, and I lived in this like weird little loft apartment behind Este's Pizzeria. That's where they held
Okay.
that. That's where they held that Drain show.
Mm.
Oh,
That
yeah,
was
yeah.
anyway. One of the girls that lived in one of the rooms there, she was dating this dude, and he was like way obsessed with the Acacia Strain. And I think the first album I actually ever listened to was Wormwood,
Oh, okay.
the blue one. He was like, "It just came out. It's brand new. It's the heaviest thing ever." And I remember he played it over and over and over. And then I saw him in Warped Tour that same year. It was like weird. It like went set your goals, and then it went straight to the Acacia Strain right after. Because I felt like I drank like a bottle of orange juice and drank milk right after, and I just got super sick. You know, it's such a drastic change, but yeah, their live shows are they're heavy, very very heavy.
Yeah. Yeah. So it must not have been you then who showed it to me because I've known about the Acacia Strain since probably 2000 and probably when Continent dropped. So 2008, maybe 2007. Because that was also around the time where I was listening to Emmure, all of the kind of really heavy stuff that was happening around that time. And so I remember Continent and the rumor going around of the Frankie Vincent fist fight because of
Mm-hmm.
all the plagiarism stuff. So it was like pick the side kind of thing. And at the time, I didn't, like I said, I didn't necessarily listen to the Acacia Strain on album, but I loved seeing them live. I think I saw them at Warped Tour too. And so I was like, oh, Team Emmure, right? But then Vincent beat the crap out of him, is the rumor. So, but what about you, Kyle?
I don't know that I've ever really like sat down and listened to them. I don't even remember listening to albums really. I do remember seeing them a couple times. Uh, Most vividly, I remember them on that tour with August Burns Red, and
Yeah.
it was at that weird venue in Layton that like it was the
Yeah.
one like only show we ever saw there.
Yep.
And I always laughed because I was like, man, it's like these guys are way darker than August Burns Red. You know, I thought it was like a super weird tour because I can't remember who else was playing that.
My Children, My Bride.
My Children, My Bride. Yeah. Okay. I guess it's like sort of fitting, but yeah, I remember seeing them and I was just like, I mean, I didn't really know their music, but you just know when the breakdowns are coming, and it was like, all right, time to smash people,
Mhm.
And I swear the whole venue was just like one giant pit. It was crazy. So
Yeah,
this is the first
absolutely.
time
No,
that
it
I've
was
actually
wild.
like sat
So,
down and listened to stuff from them. So
okay. So the Acacia Strain started 2001 out of Massachusetts, now based in Albany, New York. Their first album came out in 2002, and Life is Very Long. This album, it's okay. I mean, so did you guys get a chance to like listen to the albums, or are you just going off of memory for the most part?
I'm going off of memory for the most part. Like I did shuffle through a lot of them, so I know songs from the albums, but I didn't. There's too many albums, man. I didn't sit down and I couldn't. I couldn't just like bring myself to listen front to back on their discography. So I don't hate myself that much.
Mhm.
So this album, it's much more like you're going to start to hear what happens with them, but it feels almost like On Broken Wings. It's very moshcore and coming out of Massachusetts, Boston in the early 2000s, like it's very appropriate to what was happening at that time is the way I feel about it. Like like I said, Bury Your Dead, On Broken Wings, those Boston beatdown bands kind of thing. Like that's the feeling that you get out of this. It's less on what people start to bring them into the deathcore realm. It's still on that metalcore side of things. It's okay. Vincent gets his chops later on, in my opinion. But I mean, it's a good opening album. Josh, did you listen to this one at all?
Kind of similar to what Kyle. They uh, skimmed around. They they pop up and on my shuffle and stuff like that. Um, I what's crazy with them going crazy with or Salt Lake going crazy with them is like there were some old Salt Lake dudes that used to drive for Emmure, like do their tour bus driving and stuff like that.
Oh, dang.
Mm. But a lot of them were also really good friends with Vincent in specific, and so like that whole like feud you were talking about kind of put them I think in a little weird spot. But yeah, so the show was it in 2008 you were talking about? They came with My Children, My Bride.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
I
think it
think
was.
so.
So I think like that's like a huge reason why they got such a huge like backing here is because everyone that was older was friends with Vincent, and that just kind of just trickled through of like, oh yeah, no, this is who he is. Like everyone should go crazy for him. Um, Mari, I know I don't. I've never met him, but my singer's still friends with him to this day.
That's
Blake
They
with
dope.
still,
Vincent.
yeah,
Well, dude, they're freaking here in
show.
August, and I'm super stoked for that show. It's a great lineup. It has like No Cure on it and stuff like that. It's gonna be sick. So I'm really
Mm.
pumped for it. Um, so can you verify for us if the fist fight with the mirror did happen?
All I've ever read on the internet was it was like a scuffle. It wasn't even like a
Did we lose
fight.
him?
No, it's you, man.
Freak.
You're still smiling.
I can hear you guys,
You
so
just say,
it's fine.
do you just say freak on?
That's
Get the
exactly
freak
what I
on.
said, Josh. So
Oh
moving
yeah.
on to 3750, I think that this is where the Acacia Strain really starts picking up steam. Car Bomb is still one of their top songs, just a heavy freaking breakdown, right to kind of start everything off. They also start bringing in the sound clips onto this one. So Extreme Wrath of the, I don't know how you say that, Hijux, I think is probably how you pronounce that. It has the sound clip from Star Wars Episode 2 where Anakin's like whining that he murdered all the sand people, but they like slow it down and they distort his voice. And it's just like, I killed all of them, all the women, all the children. And it's just like, it's pretty brutal, right? But like, this is the thing about Emmure. Their lyrics, especially early on, are absolutely disgusting, brutal, super aggressive, like over the top. I don't listen to a ton of this stuff. How do you guys feel about like lyrics that are like over the top like this?
Not a big fan of it. I think that's like a big reason why deathcore has never been a big like interest of mine. Is I just can't get into that kind of stuff. Never have.
It's funny you say that because I got a guy that I work with that loves death metal. Loves the lyrics and like the whole persona about it. Like we were talking about Mayhem. Have you ever heard of them?
Yeah. The dudes who like actually burnt down the churches and the one dude killed the other dude in the band and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
The F.
yeah. So I was like, "Are you gonna go see them?" Because they were coming, and he goes, "No, it's an all ages show." And I'm like, "Okay, what? So you can't like have a beer or something?" And he goes, "No, on the 21 and up shows, they'll throw actual animal blood on you."
So
So
jacked up.
I feel like you have to have like that kind of like weird interest to be into this kind of stuff. I mean, we were making pinewood derbies for our work a couple years ago, and he took a dead rat and opened it up and spilled the guts all over his like pinewood derby car, and that was his thing. But he's like really into that stuff, like dead stuff, and
That's jacked
like
up.
like oh, man, his favorite band right now is Infant Annihilator. Just so I don't know. I think you have to have that like weird interest in that stuff for like this to be like, oh yeah, no, that's fine.
Jeez, dude, do you walk to your car alone after work, like with this guy around? Like, shoot, dog.
Nah, I park on the other side of the building.
Yeah, seriously. I'd be like, I'm parking by the street light. Like, we're not walking out when it's dark, you know?
Yeah.
Golly.
That's wild. Like we went to school with someone arrested for some animal cruelty crap. That's like a step above what that kid did. So,
Like, okay, do you remember the kid that we went to school with that had the weird pet iguana?
yeah.
Yeah.
That's the kid that would be into this stuff. Be like, oh yeah, no, that's fine.
That dude was actually kind of chill, though, and I felt bad for him because he took a lot of heat for stuff that he didn't
Walking
deserve
around
to.
with an iguana.
No,
Well,
dude, there was one time where he was like in the school going to the bathroom or something at a football game, and a teacher came up and like said, "Hey, like, what's up? Like, what do you got? What are you doing this week?" He's like, "Oh, I'm going hunting," and they
And
called in like
it was a
freaking SWAT.
shooter. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but he was like legit gonna go hunting that weekend. I felt bad
yeah,
for him, dude.
Dude, I
though
remember that now. Holy
I would
cow.
say if he would have like left the trench coat at home, he probably would have been okay. But
Yeah,
trench coat, iguana, weird autistic kid, probably like I'm going hunting. Like, oh,
yeah.
cool. No, you're not.
Yeah.
911. What's your emergency? You know? Yeah.
Dude,
But yeah,
that's true.
I've never like I have struggled with a lot of that imagery too, in just a lot of the music. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just naive or too positive a person, but I don't know, man.
So what
And,
about you, Josh? Because I know
yeah.
that you've listened to heavier stuff, like more
Mhm.
aggressive stuff. Where does it fall for you?
They say in the past, I've always just kind of liked the music part. I didn't really pay too much attention to the lyrics, especially in like metal. Like I couldn't tell you what any of the Emmure lyrics are except like "Won't you be my bride," and I don't even know what it's about. It's just like that's just a very clear vocal for you, and it's like a stage pile on at that point. Um, I will say when like Whitechapel came out and like you started reading their lyrics because they're talking about like dismembering women and stuff like that, it was like it's a little too much for
Yeah.
me.
Well,
You
we get that with the Acacia Strain too. So
Yeah, so I don't know. I didn't really pay too much attention to the lyrics at that point, but like when I got more into like hardcore, I paid more attention to the lyrics. like than the music necessarily.
Okay,
Yeah.
I've gotcha. So, I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat with you guys. The one thing I've always said though is I love vocalists where you can understand what they're saying. And Vincent, especially at this time where you had fry screams, you had the stuff starting to happen with the Whitechapels, where it was the super deep gutturals, the high screams and stuff like that, where you couldn't really understand. Vincent was one of like the heavy vocalists who you could hear what he was saying. And his lyrics do permeate throughout if you want to pay attention to what he's saying. Like, obviously, like you have to listen, right? But it gets like intense, intense. And I think it's once you hit continent, like he was already pretty like Mr. Mr. Othampic, that word,
Misotrampic.
that yeah, shy. He was already shy
Shy
halutish, nihilistic, all of that kind of stuff. But it's as soon as you get to like continent, where it's like dismembering, like talking about like gutting people, taking arms, all of that kind of stuff. It gets like over the top at that point. But The Dead Walk, this was the album. I think this was probably the first album that I did hear because I remember Whoa Shut It Down. That's still a song that they do play and everything like that. And I remember 4x4. That was another really heavy song. But you start from like the very first album. You start from And Life is Very Long, 3750, then The Dead Walk, and they just get progressively heavier. And it just gets more brutal, more aggressive. People that start labeling them as deathcore because that's 2006 is when deathcore is like kicking off, right? The Suicide Silences, the Whitechapels, the Winds of Plagues, uh, Carnifexes, all of those bands, and these guys are getting lumped into them. Vincent has come out and said like he doesn't like the deathcore label. Do you guys consider them deathcore?
Yeah.
Honestly, they're a little
So,
slow for deathcore.
well,
It's not deathy enough.
I guess, yeah, okay, but I guess it's a time period of when you're asking. Because if you're asking in early 2000s, they're 100% deathcore, right? They're All Shall Perish. They're, what are some of these other ones?
See, and I disagree with you. I just don't
Um,
think they're as fast. They don't have the death riffs in
mm,
there. They have the heavier beatdown stuff. And take these 2004, 6, 8 albums and put them in today. Like, would if they were today, would you call them deathcore or would you call them heavy hardcore,
well,
beatdown
no, but
even?
see, but I don't, I think that's more of a product of what deathcore became and not necessarily like in 2008, they're a deathcore band, right? They're not. Because think of like the metalcore bands in 2008 that are getting huge, or that are already huge, right? Like real metalcore, all the Earth Crisis Integrity stuff, all the Martyr AD, all that crap. Like they don't sound like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they don't sound like that. But at the same time, they don't sound like Winds of Plague. They don't sound like necessarily Whitechapel. They don't sound like Suicide Silence. You're not hair whipping to the Acacia
Yeah,
Strain.
To me,
yeah.
So
I
I
don't
feel
know.
like
But this has been my whole problem with not problem, but this has been like the whole thing. Like I don't like deathcore. I've said that plenty of times, right? I don't like deathcore, but like I don't dislike the Acacia Strain. Like I can listen to it. Like yeah, some of the lyrics and imagery is like not for me, but like if a Acacia Strain came on, like I'm not gonna switch it. Whereas like if any modern deathcore comes on, like I'm not listening to it. I'm actively going out of my way to change it. So like I don't right now categorize them in the same vein as like what was the Psycho band that you sent? Psycho Frame?
Oh yeah, dude,
Like
Psycho
they're
Frame's
not
dope.
yeah, it's not the same to me, Like they're definitely not the same. So,
I mean, maybe we
you know.
view it as deathcore because I mean, I don't know if they still are, probably not, but Winds of Plague when they were younger, they were straight edge kids.
That's fair.
Same with Mitch Lucker from Suicide Silence was a straight edge kid. That's why they played hardcore shows.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Same
I
with
mean, yeah, you listen to early Suicide, you listen to early As Blood Runs Black. Like, I mean, that's considered deathcore, but it's very metallic. It's not deathy and doomy. It's metallic sounding. You know.
Yeah,
I think I,
see, and that's just where I disagree with this. Is that like the Acacia Strain was so much more doomy, and then instead of like the very fast metallic riffs, like what you got in early deathcore, you had two-step parts. You had the hardcore influence, you had the back east influence coming through, where like they're showing the Massachusetts, New York roots and stuff like that. So like it was just a weird dynamic where deathcore itself felt heavy on the death, right? You mentioned All Shall Perish. You mentioned As Blood Runs Black and stuff like that. Their riffs are fast, aggressive. Again, the hair whipping, the hair spinning, and stuff like that. And you just didn't do that similar thing with the Acacia Strain, So I don't know. And then also, I think that their imagery, like I said before we hopped on here, they're windbreak core. Like Vincent is always in a windbreaker. like
yeah.
that is the get up to go to an Acacia Strain show. Find your awesome Patagonia windbreaker, put on a pair of basketball shorts, and let's go.
Yeah, I think Suicide Silence first record was I would almost call it grindcore, like the first EP. It almost kind of
Yeah.
reminded me of like Arsonist Get All the Girls and like See You Next Tuesday, almost. And then like the
Right.
record to me was just the new wave of death metal. That I think it was up to par there with like the Faceless and like Ion Dissonance and Despised Icon, where they played these massive metal fests, that they were kind of pulling away from that hardcore scene. But like the Acacia Strain never did that. They stayed more towards the hardcore scene, or like bigger bands that drew like it's almost like where Hatebreed was hardcore when they were younger and where they're at now. To me, that's like a different version of the Acacia Strain of where they started, where they're at now. Even
Right.
Earth Crisis,
Sure.
throw that in. Earth Crisis early stuff was like the top tier of, what would you call it? What did they call it then at that time? Like metalcore.
Metalcore. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like now it's still metalcore, but it's like more mainstream metalcore for sure. They're the only difference is they're just a straight edge vegan man still. So they have that rooted hardcore tie to it.
Yeah. Deathcore, especially back in the day, like, man, I remember going to these shows like 2008 and stuff. And for some reason, like, deathcore was one of the few genres that you could have like hot topic scene kids and hardcore kids like moshing as hard as they could.
Absolutely.
And I always kind of respected that because like we always poked fun at the scene kids, but like to their credit, man, like, they would mosh super hard for it. And it was, I don't know, it's kind of interesting, but that kind of ties in with what we're saying, right? Like, this was a band that I think effectively bled through multiple like scenes, and I think that's very hard. And I think it's especially hard today to do it because people are a lot more finicky about the genres that they follow now. I don't know.
I think my one of my favorite eras of all of it was like when all like these death metal bands were also like Christian bands, like Impending Doom. So you get like some of the
Friggin',
crowd
with
showing
blood
up.
comes cleansing, dude.
They're like, "This is my favorite Christian band," and they're like up at the front, like on their knees praying, while like somebody's also dying in the back just from getting pelted.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, they
Which
like
Impending
what
Doom
was it
was on that show.
up
The
in
August
Logan?
Burns Red one.
Yeah.
Oh, that's probably right. Well. That's the other thing that ties them too, because what is it? I think August Burns Red is a Christian band or
Yeah.
was.
Or was. Sure.
Something. Yeah.
So
So
that
they had
tied a
three
lot of
Christian bands, right? My Chill, My Bride, August Burns Red, Impending Doom, and then you got Vincent up there saying, "I'm gonna blow a load through the back of your head." Like it was just the irony of what was happening at this time that was insane. But shout out to August Burns Red for taking them on that tour.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they even had ties back in like early or mid 2000s. August Burns Red. I think the first time they ever played here, they played was when they were touring off their first record. I think in 2006 at Boomba down there in Ogden. I don't know if you went to that,
That's
Kyle.
August Burns Red.
Yeah,
I feel like I did. I've seen August Burns Red a ton of times.
I
I've
can.
always been a
I've
big August
we've
Burns
gone
Red
a handful
fan.
of times.
So
Man, they're really good.
yeah.
I don't think
Yeah,
I made it through their
they're sick.
last time.
So I think the next album, have we gotten to Wormwood yet?
No.
No, still Continent. So the only thing I want to say
Okay.
about Continent, and this goes back to the Frankie and Vincent beef, right? So Skynet is supposedly their call out song, right? He
Yeah.
says plagiarism is the highest form of flattery. And like, listen, at this point in time, Vincent's talking about ripping bodies apart, all that kind of stuff. Like, he's not the greatest lyricist, right? But there's at least a little bit of candor in this song instead of like just straight brutal. It's still insane. It's just like you're effing dead the whole time. But all of a sudden, Frankie comes back and his response song is R2 Deep Throat. And like, you have someone be like, yeah, plagiarism's the highest form of flattery. And Frankie's like, yeah, you know what? Ask your girl what my dick tastes like. Like, it's just like the most like cheesy, corny beef that you can absolutely get, especially in 2008, right? It's just like, that was such just like a high school, right out of high school diss. And it was great. It was the best beef ever. But Continent is definitely the album where I have the most memory of it between Skynet, JFC, Doctor Doom. Like, this album, front to back, is incredible. And if you go and read like album rankings and stuff like that, Wormwood is usually one, but there is a big population who do put Continent as what kind of set them on the map. So I think that this is the one. They did it on prosthetic. I think everything after this, if I remember, is on Rise Records. So I think that this is where they catch the attention of Rise as well.
Yeah, Rise was really big at the time.
Yeah.
Well, we were just looking at that. Rise is like still got for like modern metalcore, deathcore type stuff. Rise is still like way better than they should be.
Oh, I don't doubt it. Yeah, right. Like, I feel like around like the mid 2000s is when Victory started to like really fall off, and and bands were just faulting on all of their deals or getting out of it and stuff. Like, I remember Day to Remember was a big one, but like,
Yeah.
it was funny. I went and saw Silverstein on Thursday a couple months ago, and it was funny. Jeff was like, he was talking about some record, and he was like, "Yeah, we released it on Victory Records, you know, this many years ago. How many of you know Victory Records?" There was a bunch of people like flipping him off, and he goes, "You people know who Victory Records is through that label." So yeah, I think Rise was like the next up, one of the next up and coming labels that I think at the time they had like Attack
They had everyone.
and all those popular bands. Like, well, this is the label I need to be on.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, we've said it before. There was a whole genre that at this point you could just call Risecore. Like, it was Rise record bands. They all had kind of that techno production, that really like samples, all of that kind of stuff that was all going on in the late 2000s, early 2010s. Like, it was a really big thing, and Rise was definitely at the forefront of that.
Well,
Big
and they were
old
all
bass drops and stuff. So,
they were all it was like they were all contracted through Joey Sturgis. It was like a,
yep.
if you went with Rise, you went and recorded with Joey Sturgis. So all the albums around that time all sound the same.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. So this is also the first album where they actually are on the Billboard. So they hit 107 with Continent, which then leads to Wormwood, which they were actually on prosthetic as well, that album, and then it goes to Rise. So this one comes out ranking 67. Kyle, you said that this one is your favorite. Why?
I don't know. Because when I listen to the songs, I like them the most. I have no like attachment to this album. You know, it's not like I look fondly back on my memories of listening to Wormwood. I just the songs on this album to me felt good. So
I will say I can listen to that song, the song "Beast," the intro to this record, and anytime at the gym and just feel like a freaking beast.
yeah,
Dude, it's wild. It's
Is
so
it?
good. I've got video of it from when they came and played with Dying Fetus and stuff like that. I've used it in quite a few social media clips. When this song came on, when you hear that just open ringing and then they go into the chugging, just slow chugging, dude, the crowd goes insane for this song. This is like probably the most aggressive pit that I've been in a minute.
yeah,
Like it's wild.
yeah.
So
It sure goes hard.
yeah, this one has such bangers. You already said Beast. The Hills Have Eyes, but then Jonestown, just nasty. That
Yes.
opening riff is so sick, so heavy, so aggressive. But the way that this ends, Tactical Nuke. First of all, should we just have the Acacia Strain as the world soundtrack until we know what's happening with freaking Iran and Israel at
Probably.
this point? Like, Tactical Nuke is just a 5-minute breakdown. And every time you think it's going to stop, it just plays the breakdown again. Someone somewhere should just have Tactical Nuke on repeat. And it's just the breakdown time after time after time. It just keeps going. And listen, we shouldn't be joking about that, but what are you going
I'm
to
not
do?
the one. I'm not the one doing it. So yeah.
I'll do it.
One's gonna get canceled.
No, I'm saying I'm
Listen,
not the
man,
one dropping the nukes. It's not my choice. So we can make fun of those guys because they're stupid. But
for
um,
real.
yeah, I don't know. This album, like, it felt like it flowed very well. Nothing felt gimmicky. You know, like even in Tactical Nuke, they do the like extended pause with no music and then like continue the breakdown. Like that can get pretty gimmicky. I didn't feel like that with this album. You know, I think they did stuff really well. So it's a deathcore album that I could actually listen to. I mean, I
Didn't feel
won't.
like that after 3.5 minutes in of the same breakdown and a 10-second pause between each one. Wondering where the next song is, and then the breakdown just hits again.
I mean, maybe if I was listening to this on a CD, you know, I'd be like, all right, guys, like, but I knew, like, you can look at the, like the bar, the progress bar, and I'm like, yeah, okay, it's got another 30 seconds. We're still going to do this for 30 seconds. So, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't mind this album. So I think it's a good, like, it's definitely a good progress from Continent. So, you know,
Yeah, they definitely stepped it up. The production got better. I think that's a little bit. I mean, every album just keeps getting heavier and heavier. Like it just keeps going until you get to this Death is the Only Mortal. So 2012, this next album comes out. By the way, it starts with Wormwood, but they start doing this bird motif basically on all their albums. And I looked it up, and Vincent said something about how like the bird symbolizes like human life or something in decay. I don't know. Humanity in relationship with its environment because there's all the decay that goes around it, and then there's the birds. Like it's a pretty visual imagery. Like you see that on like a lot of post-apocalyptic TV shows and stuff like that. Oftentimes there'll be like a body or something, a bird will land and start like eating the body or things like that. And
yeah,
like it feels very appropriate to the way that these albums portray themselves lyrically, portray themselves as destruction of the human race, all that kind of stuff. So the imagery of the bird actually is pretty interesting just with regards to all of it. But Death is the Only Mortal. So this album was interesting, right? You had such a high off of Continent, such a high off of Wormwood. You hit this album. It's the first one on Rise Records. And I felt like you could tell it was on Rise Records. This is the first one where you lose some of the heaviness and you start getting some of just the almost back to the just more metalcore style roots. They even throw a bleh in there during one of the songs. Like it it was like them, and at the time, right? They're touring with like the Attack Attacks. They're touring with these Rise core bands and stuff like that. Like I feel like they just a little bit got sucked into this one. So after listening to Wormwood, did you guys pick through this one? Did you guys catch anything and notice anything that was of interest to you?
Like after Wormwood?
Because Wormwood was just so heavy. So
Yeah.
like thinking about Wormwood and then listening to this, like, was there anything that stood out to you or that you noticed?
It definitely is more metal than doomy. I felt like I can't tell you the names of the songs. There's a couple songs that still comes from my shuffle off of this record that I think are really good, but it's different from Wormwood for sure.
Yeah. And I agree, right? Like, here's the thing. I don't think that there's another band who is consistently wherever you want to rate these guys, right? If you think all their albums are 5, all of them are 5. If you think all of them are 10, all of them are 10. Their entire discography just feels consistent for what it is. Like, I don't think that like anything is so significantly above you can say Wormwood was the best or whatever, but it still feels as like the other albums feel pretty much as good as it, maybe just not as memorable in terms of some of the songs, right? But like when you're talking about more metally, immediately Our Lady of Perpetual Sorrow, like that's just a very straight metalcore riff right off the get. And Vincent for the last 2 albums has just been doing his low, heavy vocals, and he starts throwing in some highs in here and stuff. It just felt so Rise record-ish for this album. And it's not bad. It's actually really good, but it was appropriate to 2012 and could just get lumped in with everything else in 2012.
So one thing that I noticed, especially on this album, is I get kind of tired of the guitar, like I don't know if it's like a sound effect when he chugs, you get like the weird like almost like reverb on it. But I feel like all these heavy bands, like if you listen to the riff, it's it's like they add a lot of, I don't know what the technical term is on the guitar, but like it's not just a straight chug, like there's some effect on it that you can hear.
It's almost like a dive.
Almost like a dive on every chug, right?
It's where they pull the string. The
Yeah,
boom, boom, boom.
exactly. And I
Yeah.
feel like every freaking deathcore, even now, like every deathcore, every like modern metalcore band does that type of like dive chug type thing. And it gets way overdone. I definitely noticed that on this album and some of the albums going forward that I was like, I just kind of tired of that sound on the guitar. So
Yeah. Yeah. And you definitely get that on this one. I think it's part of that Rise sound. This one also feels very genty. Like everything's very staccato-y, very choppy and stuff like that. Where the previous albums had that like ambient backtone and stuff. And a lot of that was actually from they started with 3 guitarists. Like I don't know when they dropped the 3rd guitarist, but like everyone had to do something. So they had a lot of like textures and stuff going on in like Continent, Wormwood, and stuff like that. Where this one feels much more chuggy chug.
right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So this one, like I said, it went to 67 or no, excuse me, 51 on the charts. That first one on Rise. And I think that a lot of people lost interest at this point. This is also the last album that had DL on it. So DL was their guitarist who started the band with Vincent, was with him since 2001, made it up to this point. And for about 2 or 3 years, DL didn't tour with the Acacia Strain, but he was the main songwriter and he was like the producer. and like he did a lot of the engineer work and stuff like that. This is the last one that features DL, and then we get to Coma Witch that they bring in. His name was Tom Smith, I think is what it is, and he was the guy who was actually touring with them and stuff during that time. But Coma Witch has maybe my favorite song that the Acacia Strain put out, Human Disaster. I love Human Disaster. So, what did you guys think about this album? If you guys paid attention at all.
I don't think I really paid attention too much to this record. What about you, Kyle?
Yeah, I didn't either. Because I feel like, I feel like after Wormwood and leading up to, what is it, the Worm Decay or Slow Decay?
Yeah.
Those albums didn't really do it for me.
Okay.
They're fine. They're fine. Like again, like you said, they're incredibly consistent and they're always going to be consistent. I would rather go from Wormwood to Slow Decay, and then everything past Slow Decay I think is better too. So
Okay. So people love this album or hate this album. I fall in the middle. Like, I think that it has some good songs on it. Like Human Disaster is an incredible song for me. It is everything that I wanted in 2008, 2009, and 2014. So like, and I didn't listen to this in 2014. I listened to this for the first time probably 2020, something like that, when I was coming back to these guys. But Human Disaster, it's great. It has that two-steppy, deathcore, metalcore, two-step style in there. And then this is the first one where they like, we always said, what would you do if you had a 20-minute hardcore song and the Acacia Strain does it with Observer at the end of Coma Witch? They do a 27-minute atmospheric. It could have just been like the one song single, which was like 30 minutes long, which they ended up doing in 2023 with Failure Will Follow kind of thing. So they definitely start like exploring, right? I think that Death is the Only Mortal was the one where Rise Record is like, hey, this is what we want you to sound like. I think Coma, which is like the one where it's like, this is what we want to try to sound like. And then I think that we get to Grave Bloom, and Grave Bloom is another album that it's just goes back to who the Acacia Strain is. Plague Doctor is a great song. I think it's Dark Harvest. Is that the one? Yeah, Dark Harvest was another song that I really liked off this one. But the interesting thing was I was listening to an interview with Vincent, and he said, my band didn't know this, but I was done. I was quitting. He's like, Grave Bloom was me coming to terms with being done with the Acacia Strain. So interesting that way, right? Like you start getting a little bit more depth. I don't think you get quite the graphic imagery that you had some of. Maybe I'm wrong. Revealing rancid rancor reeling in your rotten rust. Like, yeah, it's still pretty graphic, but yeah, I don't know. So like you said, everything leading up to Slow Decay just kind of got lost for you.
yeah.
But did you listen to Grave Bloom, and then specifically did you listen to It Comes in Waves?
I didn't like listen to them all the way through, but yeah, I know songs off them.
Okay. What about you, Josh?
The only thing I remember about It Comes in Waves is Blake asking for royalties for him stealing our song name.
Well, I'm pretty sure the Chariot did it first. Doesn't the Chariot have a song called It Comes in Waves?
I think that's too long of a song name for the Chariot, to be honest with you. Maybe if you added them up.
I don't know. Anyways, that's funny. Did he really hit up Vincent and be like, dude, WTF?
Oh, yeah. He, like I say, he'll send us screenshots every once in a while, people he's talking to. It was such hey, man, so we expect royalties for stealing our song name. It was just like, thing.
That's pretty funny.
That's hilarious.
I actually really enjoy though when artists or bands will do like the names of their album to have it say like a sentence.
Yeah.
Like the chariot.
Because it says our only sin was giving them names. I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah. Each song is one word.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think
So,
the chariot does that, right? It's like back to back. They shot each other
Yeah,
the whole
something like
record.
that. Mm-hmm. There's
interesting.
another there's another band I'm a fan of called Dens, and they do that too on one of their albums. It's pretty cool. I don't know.
Oh, interesting.
I've always thought that was cool and kind of clever. So
You look.
Gotcha. Well, so this album is interesting, right? So I was listening again to another podcast that had Tom Smith, the guitarist, and he was talking about coming off the last two albums, right? So like they just done Grave Bloom, and Vincent's at the point where he's like, I'm ready to quit. And I guess there was a conversation, like the other band members didn't know that, but there was a conversation where Vincent's like, I'm just burnt out. I want to do something different. Give me something different. And this is what Tom came up with. He came up with It Comes in Waves, much more atmospheric, much more doomy, much more gloomy. Like this feels, in terms of modern, the Acacia Strain, this sets the tone for what the modern Acacia Strain really is. It's heavy, it's aggressive, but it's more airy at times, kind of thing, instead of just straight beat down in your face the whole way through. And he said, we wanted you to have a 30-minute experience front to back. That's also why the song titles are like that and everything. So if you just sit down and listen through it, it's great. I did it this morning. It's an awesome, awesome album. It's just heavy, it's aggressive, but it's not the heavy and aggressive that the Acacia Strain is like known for. And they actually released this on closed casket activities because of that. This isn't the record that Rise Records wanted. This is the record that they wanted. So yeah, I would highly recommend going and listening to this. So they wrote this record and then as they were wrapping it up, they immediately wrote Slow Decay. And they were like, we just gave you our experimental sound. That's what we can do. Here's an album that is much more the Acacia Strain in Slow Decay for Rise Records. So, Kyle, you said again, this is one that you did listen to. What stood out on Slow Decay for you? You're muted.
I got these bad allergies, so I'm like muting to cough and stuff all the time. And I just forget to come off mute. It felt a lot more like metalcore, you know, like less doomy, less I don't know. Crippling Poison is a dope song. You know what this reminds me of is like Old Parkway Drive, and I'm down with that. So
Yeah. No, I was a big fan. I sent it to you earlier that this is definitely one of their top albums for me. I love this album. I think it's awesome. Feed a pigeon, breed a rat, crippling poison. They're freaking awesome. Um, Josh, did you listen to this one? Have you been listening to like new Acacia Strain much, or do you mostly listen to like old Acacia Strain?
I would say like mid around like 2010, 2012.
So you listen to like that Wormwood era?
Like I've checked out their newer stuff just to like pop it on and see what it sounds like, and every time I'm just like, oh yeah, cool. And I just revert back to just one guy, you know.
So let me ask you, like, why is it not resonating with you today? If you
Uh, I don't know.
could say so.
I just feel like there's maybe to me it's like there's certain bands for me that just do it better. So I just don't really have that. I don't know. I guess I gatekeeping. I don't know. Being a piece of shit. I don't know. I it's like good, but it's like I've already heard it before. You know, so maybe there's that nostalgic feeling. You know, when you first heard Wormwood, I'm like, this is heavy, and I can still like I don't know, get that same feeling I did, when I was 20 years old. Versus, it's like, to me, it's like no different. Say if you take a different band, a different genre, like the first time you heard, like Taking Back Sunday, Tell All Your Friends. There's way better songs since then that's ever been written. You like cute without the E. There's way better songs than that have been written, but like to me, I'm like, yeah, but that's like the song. So I
Right.
just,
It's the nostalgia hit for you.
Yeah.
I think so.
That's that's a super fair point, because it's like I wasn't really into like traditional hardcore back then when like I knew about the Acacia Strain and stuff, and so but now that like I've gotten more into this stuff, like I would probably rather go listen to just hardcore music than deathcore. I don't know. Like I would rather go listen to a beatdown band, and as much as I don't like beatdown, I would probably rather listen to it than deathcore. I don't know. I don't want to say that like I've outgrown deathcore, but like it doesn't interest me anymore because I feel like there's other stuff that I'd rather listen to. And maybe it is, maybe if you're not a psycho like the guy that Josh works with,
Yeah.
I wonder if this is like shock value. You're a teenager. I'm going to listen to deathcore, but then you get older and you're like, I don't know if I really want to listen to people getting dismembered. So
Well,
I'm going to
like
go listen
maybe
to,
I think with like hardcore or deathcore, a lot of the attachment, at least for me, is like when I first saw the band, because I couldn't really
Mm,
like turn on like a band like Despised Icon and just listen to it. But
right.
when you're there and the show's going, the drums going, so like when I'm listening to it now, that's like what I remember is like the first time I got to see them or the last time I got to see them. So
Yeah, that's fair. And like, I am much more into this kind of music currently. Like I listen to Teeth. I love Teeth. I listen to like No Cure and a lot of like Stolen Gun, who's Vincent's new band with the drummer for No Cure, the guy from Pure Bliss. Like I really like this stuff currently. And so the Acacia Strain is definitely at the top of doing it extremely, extremely well. So like Step Into the Light, the last album they put out, fast, aggressive. This gets much more like deathy, that fast, really aggressive, hair spinning almost style guitar riffs in there. And then the really slow, heavy, feel it in your gut breakdowns kind of thing. And Vincent's voice, dude, like he is one of the best vocalists. I love Vincent's voice. It's just so hard and so aggressive. They have the song Chain has the guy from Chamber on it. Then they have the guy from Tsunami on Sinkhole. Like, so that's one thing that I also really like about the Acacia Strain is throughout their career, they have always kept a pulse on
Mm,
what's currently popular, and they've taken those bands out. They've become friends with a lot of those bands, and like, but they continue to grow, they continue to evolve, and they continue to just kind of keep the pulse on the scene. Like their upcoming tour, like they're bringing out the No Cures and stuff like that. Like that's what's popular, that's what's going off right now, and that's what they're going to do. Where they were supporting Dying Fetus. Dying Fetus was all the rage a couple years ago from playing that FYA 2023 show, right? Like it just it's interesting that they really keep their finger on the pulse of kind of where the scene is and everything like that, while still really, I mean, in my opinion, sticking to who the Acacia Strain is.
yeah.
So the last album, and it was, oh, did you have something?
No, I was just going to say that like, that's kind of what I meant earlier about like, I think that it's cool that there's these old bands that still will be involved in mixed bill stuff, Like everyone was like shocked when Terror played with Black Dahlia and when they did that tour with um
Obituary.
Obituary.
mm-hmm.
But it's like, man, a lot of these bands are cut from the same cloth. Like even though they play different music, they're from the same scene. They know the same guys. And so you don't see that as much anymore because it's like so easy to just be like a deathcore guy. Like you don't understand the roots of deathcore. Deathcore are literally hardcore, right? Death metal and hardcore. Like that's what deathcore is. So like it's cool that there's bands like Acacia Strain that still can tap into the roots of what this stuff was and part of the hardcore scene, you know? So I respect that. And I hope more bands do that. And I think you see it a little more, you know, some of these bands like 200 Stab Wounds and Sangua's SpongeBob or whatever they're called playing
Dog,
hardcore festivals. Like, you know, I think there's some bands trying to do it, but doesn't happen as much, you know?
you ever listen to Volcano?
No, because I saw their album cover and I was like, nah.
You should check out
Right.
Volcano. They're freaking sweet. Suga Bog's really good too, though.
Doesn't Volcano have like a, aren't they like skinning a dude? Yeah, nah, I'm good, man. See that kind of stuff. Like,
Well, don't judge a book by its cover, man. Okay.
I don't like that, dude. Call me pussy or whatever. I don't like it.
You're
Whatever.
not.
So
You're being judgmental.
the last album that dropped at the same time. So this was a double album, right? So you had Step Into the Light, and then you had Failure Will Follow. Failure Will Follow is only three song EP, you can call it, but it's 38 minutes long. And Bogwalker is incredible. This song is like, if you want to hear like where like Doom met blues and stuff, like where they were pulling that early inspiration from, this is like the epitome of it. You listen to that riff in there, and it's just a bluesy, just heavy, grimy sound, but it's just so heavy, and they do it so well. And you know, the blues back in the day, like that was the heavy music, right? The lyrical content was very heavy. They were talking about really negative, aggressive things in a blues sense. And for them to capture that, in my opinion, on like this song, it's really impressive. And I know that there's other bands that do this song. I don't listen to a lot of this kind of music, but I did listen to it with the Acacia Strain. I thought it was dope. So did you
Yeah,
guys listen to this one at all?
I did listen to it. I'd rather listen to Zabalba or even freaking Crowbar. So
So Crowbar's the band that does it. Crowbar's the band that does it. You get that sludgy stuff. I wouldn't say Zabalba's like this. You're putting
yeah,
Zabalba in this?
I think
Depends
the
on the
like
record.
atmospheric type, like especially with the vocals, where there's a little bit of like echo on the vocals, like that's very much Zabalba sounding to me.
I guess depends on the record. Like the one with the weird, I don't know, like temple looking thing. What is it? What's that
Hasta
record
la
called?
muerte.
Yeah, there's definitely some songs that are spaced out.
Yeah,
Okay.
or
I see what
Doomy.
you're saying.
Yeah,
Yeah, you get more doom in that record and stuff. I guess I'm just thinking of the last uh Atslan, their 2023 EP. I
Mhm.
don't feel like it was like that as much. Yeah. So, but yeah, anyways, I come back to I think that the Acacia Strain puts on one of the best live performances out there. They're fantastic. They're heavy. Vincent is no longer miserable. He's happy up on stage. It looks like he's having fun, and he encourages the crowd to have a little bit more fun and stuff like that versus just go kill everyone, you know? So like they're better shows. I'm super stoked for it. I'm going to catch them on August 3rd when they're here in Salt Lake. I'm not even going to tell Kyle when the date is, cause I know he's not going. So, but yeah, the last thing I want to ask you guys, and it's something that we talked about. How do you feel about a band who's 13 albums deep now, not changing their sound? Because we've talked about the bands that have changed their sound. So is it too much of one thing and you're bored? Or is it, if you're this good at doing it, just keep doing it?
I was never on the side of bands not being allowed to change their sound, so I would prefer them to experiment more. But I don't know.
I feel
I
like
don't know.
most bands, once you're like 13 albums deep, I feel like your first five, you pretty much just have to say like, "Hey, this is what we're playing live," because that's all people want to hear, and the rest of the albums are just for us. I
That's
mean,
such a good point.
like, I mean, you go see any. I feel kind of bad, but like, it's like all these bands right now are doing these 20-year anniversaries, and it's like, well, yeah, you'll sell those out because that's all I want to hear is your first couple of records. Sure,
Yeah.
your other records are great, but I moved on.
Yeah.
That's such a good point because literally all of them. Like I think about like us because seeing Comeback Kid back in February for the Wake the Dead.
Yeah,
It's like, yeah, you guys had albums after Wake the Dead. Do I care about them? Not as much. Like they're good,
no,
but like, no, dude, just play Wake the Dead.
yeah.
You know?
It's the same with even like a band like Madball. It's like, nah,
Yeah.
just play Set It Off front to back.
That's just your one album. Just go.
Yeah,
You're good. So, well, that is interesting that you're saying that. And we're at an interesting dynamic with music at this point because we are now 20, 30 years into this scene, right? And there are what are considered classics. There are classics in metalcore, deathcore, hardcore, all that kind of stuff. They were saying when they dropped Grave Bloom 2017, they immediately went on a 10-year anniversary of Continent. So no one listened to Grave Bloom, right? Because it used to be you toured on your new album as a way to promote the album, get more sales, get that one going and stuff like that. Like you just said, everyone just wants to hear the classics now.
Yeah.
Give me Continent front to back. I don't care about Grave Bloom.
yeah,
So like it's kind of funny when we saw Under Oath at Furnace Fest and they play this incredible They're Only Chasing Safety set. And then they end They're Only Chasing Safety. And then they're like, we're going to play a new one. The entire crowd stopped,
Yeah.
didn't do anything. They played this like terrible, terrible song. And then they come back with the 5-set song where it was like, in regards to myself, what were those 5?
Breathing in a
Uh,
new mentality,
Breathe
writing on the
in.
walls. I've got 10
Yeah.
friends and a crowbar.
Yeah.
When the sun sleeps. Yeah, dude.
When the sun sleeps, and the crowd immediately just erupts again. Like
Yeah.
no one cares about New Under Oath. You cannot convince me otherwise. No one cares about New Under Oath.
I
I
think they
will
have,
say,
I
go
think they
ahead.
have one good new song, and it was a single. I think it's called "Drowning."
Yeah, it was
It's not
fine.
on the record. It's just on a
Yeah,
single.
it was fine. You're not going to an Under Oath show to see them play Drowning.
No,
So that being said, I feel like the Acacia Strain is on an upswing. Step Into the Light, Slow Decay are incredible albums. I think
Yeah.
that they're super good. I think they have the potential to have some classics come off of these albums. So I really hope when I see them in August, they are like, I'm really curious of what the set list will be. If it is going to be 10 songs from 2010 back, or if we are going to get some current modern stuff. So, anyways,
It's a cool band, man. It was definitely fun listening to it because I don't know their discography super well. So, and with all my hate towards deathcore, I don't hate this band. Like they've got good stuff, you know. It's a fun listen for sure. And I was even telling you, I was like, I might not put on their music and listen to it, but if I see them play, like I'm absolutely getting violent for them. So,
yeah,
you know,
you just have to. It's just
yeah,
that's what you have to do with these guys. So dope. Well, next week you're out of town,
yeah,
Josh. If you want to jump on, you can. But I know you have your lift and stuff. I've got something scheduled with another band, so like we can figure that out. But we will be back soon. You'll have an interview coming up, and then I don't know. Maybe we'll go nostalgia again. So dope.
yeah, yeah.
All right. Peace.
bye bye.
Wait.
Stop.